Trustees to order. Monday, March 16th. Audience members are requested to sign in on the sheet provided at the registration table. Citizens wishing to be heard on topics not listed on the agenda may speak under item C. Citizens may be given an opportunity to speak during discussion of items listed on the agenda and are allowed 3 minutes for comments. Disruptive discussion or profanity will not be allowed. Roll call of officers.
Morning.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Streeter.
Here.
Stutz is excused. Will.
Stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizen participation. Citizens are to address the board only. Statements are limited to 3 minutes. The board may not respond to items that are not listed on the agenda. However, you may ask for an item to be placed on future agendas. Are there any citizens wishing to be heard besides what's on the agenda? We're gonna push out the announcements for the first hour presentation until a later date. Resolutions, number 1, discussion and possible action on resolution 6-2020, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to levy special assessments under municipal police power pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 66.0703, Polk Street / Chapman to Moser Creek.
I can summarize that. This is what the preliminary resolution to assess is the village board agreeing that the project that we're looking at doing, which is Polk Street, from Chapman Avenue to Moser Creek, which kind of intersects our Beshot Avenue, which is a larger project. Beshot Avenue is already an improved street. In this case, being that Polk Street is not an improved street, meaning it doesn't have curb and gutter. It does have some sidewalks, but it doesn't have curb and gutter, and it's got ditches, certainly in poor condition. But as the village's policy goes for those types of roads, the first time that those roads are improved in the village, as we just did on Indiana Avenue recently, those are assessed to the property owners for the one and only time that the assessment for the street is done. And in the future, then the maintenance of those streets is not assessed. The preliminary resolution to assess is basically the board agreeing that the board is in agreement that we're going to pursue assessments for this project, and it basically tells our project manager or myself to prepare the plans, prepare the documents that would show those assessment estimates and all that, and then at a future, in this case tonight, those things would be looked at as in the public hearing process. So the simple preliminary resolution to assess is nothing more than the village board saying, yes, let's move forward with looking at this.
Are there any questions on this resolution? Can I get a motion? What is the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution RO 622.
I'll second that motion.
Any other questions? I got a motion by Horning, second by Price to approve resolution 6-2020. Are there any other questions or comments on this resolution? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. All right. At this point, we'll adjourn to the public hearing. This is a public hearing on a special assessment for public improvements to Polk Street. Is there?
Yeah. How many folks are? I mean, I know you're all here for this tonight, but how many of you are from the same address? I guess I'm assuming you're from the same address in the back. So we have 3 addresses here. And how many addresses, Mitch, are there total that are affected by this? 12, 10 or 12, 11. Mitch does have these assessments, and you all should have been notified through a mailing a couple weeks ago, right? That this information was available here at the office, and Mitch has copies of it. He'll pass them out. The numbers, the board has these also. Some of these numbers get pretty large. Just keep in mind, this is, first of all, it's an estimate at this point. Second of all, anything over, I'll just say anything over $5,000 at this point can be strung out over 10 years of payment. Anything, and I'm just trying to think, is there anything under? There's one under 5,000. So if it's under 5,000, then it has to be within 5 years. But it's equal installments over 5 years. The first installment on this project, because likely it will be done this year and next year, we usually do it in 2 years. would not be due until 2022, in November of 2022. And the way it works is if you have the choice at that time to make, whether it's a full payment or you can string it out over 5 or 10 years. And then that first installment would be due that year. And if it's not paid, it goes on to your tax, your property taxes that year. So, at this time, I guess it's open for public comment. If you have any questions, I know you just are seeing these numbers, most of you. But these numbers, like it was done in the mailing, I mean, they were available here. We didn't actually have anybody request them at this point, so, do you have a question, gentlemen? Yes, sir.
I'd like to know
Yeah.
what.
Could you please,
what-
I'm sorry, could you please state your name and
My
address?
name is Ray Emmer, 101 Polk Street.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
What's this about police power? What are you guys bringing the police for on this? What's the
That's
solution to this?
that's just state statute. It's using, that's the exact language that comes out of the state statute. It's pursuant to police power. It really just means that as the village board, they have the power to assess.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that, but you know, the way it's written here sounds like it's a police state.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, this is the way it has to be written. It's part of state statute. It's if you look up this 66.0703, which is the village's right to assess for projects, for public works projects like this.
What are we accessing, the outside or the inside or both?
I don't understand.
Assessing. He's wondering
Oh.
for the special assessment.
The outside or the inside? I'm not following the question. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm assuming you're assessing the homes
Yep.
for its value.
No. No, your assessment, it's a special assessment, and it's based on the frontage that you own on the
Okay.
So it's based on if you own 100 feet, you're paying for that 100 feet of road. And just keep in mind, some of these roads are overbuilt than what a normal residential street would be. So we take that into consideration. So when Mitch goes through this project, we're putting in 18 inches of gravel because that's the way we build our roads now.
Yeah.
You're not paying for 18 inches of gravel. You're only paying for 6 inches of gravel and.
I'm just trying to clarify a little bit.
Sure.
what's on here, because some of this here, as you read it, if they're like a normal person like myself, this is Greek to me.
It is, it is, it's,
Okay, and, you know, it would be easier if it was written in English that we can understand it.
yeah.
Okay, the other thing I was gonna ask you, we're on the end property.
Mhm.
Now, we have people on the other side of the creek that owns property on this side of the creek.
Okay.
So has that been taken into consideration?
It depends on,
We only got 60 feet in our front.
yeah,
Okay.
you would only be charged for your 60 feet. And I don't know the specifics, Mitch could probably answer that, if there's probably not street being put in front of that, possibly, that owner, yeah.
Well, it does go to extend past, the street, the Polk Street does expand past my boundaries, and I've had my, land assessed,
Surveyed?
just within the last couple of years.
Yep.
By a professional, and I've got it all, I got fence posts up to show
Yep.
exactly where my lines are. So I just.
Yep.
I'm telling you, it goes past that, so.
Yep, and it sounds like Mitch is saying with the plans don't go past that, though. So we'll stop the street at the end of your property.
All right.
Yep,
Just.
yep, no, good point.
Didn't know if you were aware of that.
Yep.
so.
Is there any other comments on this, on this public hearing for the public improvements Polk Street?
So is this just for
Excuse-
Polk Street?
Jeff, could you say your name and address, please?
Jeff Warner, 10 Gunshot Avenue. Now, is this just for Polk Street?
So, yeah, I can answer that question. So what I said earlier when I started talking was, so the way the village assesses street construction is they assess the frontages for the construction of the street the very first time it gets built from a rural section. The rural section is what you have now. You have no curb and gutter. It's got kind of ditches. They're not great, but there's kind of ditches there. So the first time that road gets built into what we call an improved street, where it has curb and gutter, sidewalks, the full type of street, the first time that that's done in the village, you, as a property owner abutting that street, pay for it. in this case, to answer your question, yes, it is only for Polk Street, because the Beshod side of this has already been improved. There's curb and gutter there, so you don't pay for any of that. The homeowners on Beshod Street will not pay for any of that assessment, besides if you have bad sidewalk squares, driveway squares, or if you're paying for sewer lateral or water lateral assessments. For this particular purpose, though, this is only for Polk Street, because that's the unimproved street.
Okay, I see.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, it
Okay.
does. Thank you.
Yep. And along those lines, if you own a corner lot, which I'm assuming you do, the assessment rules are slightly different for corner lots. You pay for full frontage of whatever the front of your lot is considered, and then you pay 50% of the other side up to 120 feet, and then full the rest. So if you had 120 feet as your non-frontage lot, you only pay for 60 feet, so to speak. But if you have 130 feet, then you pay for 70 feet. Does that make sense? That's how the corner lots work. And if anybody's interested in seeing the actual plans, we do also have those here tonight. It'll look a lot like a lot of the other streets we've done in the past. It'll be asphalt. It'll be, we're not 100% done with the plans yet. We're still working with our engineer on that. But it'll definitely be an improvement from where it's at. I know we've had a lot of complaints over the years with this street, and it's certainly been a drainage issue. He's gonna pass those out, so. Gotta go ahead and ask.
And Nick, are we still doing, like we do the construction one year and then we let it sit
Yeah.
over the winter?
Yeah, and as far as construction goes, there'll be a lot more information coming out to you folks for the construction timeline and how it's going to go, and there'll be a pre-construction meeting. But as Mike was alluding to, we do it in 2 years. So this year, hopefully this year, we get the sewer and the water and all the storm sewer and the road basin, and then it'll sit gravel over the winter, and then we put in the street next year with curb and gutter, sidewalks, asphalt. The reason we do that is when you dig those deep sewers into the ground, they tend to settle over the first winter, and if we put a street on them right away, we end up with a lot of bad, bumps and dips in our streets. So that's why we do it that way. Like I said, you'll get a lot more information from Mitch on that, and there'll be a pre-construction meeting. And, the only reason I'm saying a little bit reluctant to say that right now is because of what's going on in the world right now, and who knows what's gonna happen here with this construction and stuff. So, but as of right now, we're planning on moving forward with it, so.
Is there anybody else that wants to comment on this item? Jeff?
Now, what about access to our houses?
Yep.
This is all going on.
And like I said, and I don't wanna not answer your questions tonight. A lot of that information will be taken care of in the future through contacts through Mitch. You definitely will have access to your property 95% of the time. To real quickly answer that, the only time you won't have access to your driveway, so to speak, is 5 or 7 days after they pour your approach and sidewalk. But otherwise, and we usually work, we work with the homeowners on that. But like I said, Mitch will be in contact with you guys closer to construction. There'll be a pre-construction meeting where you can ask all those types of questions.
So Polk Street will take 2 years to do.
Polk and Beshod. Yep.
Do it all in one shot.
Yep,
It's just
so it'll
like
all
other
be one
construction.
project. It's all one project. It's just, the reason you're invited tonight is because you have Polk Street frontage, and that's an assessment. So that's why the public meeting for tonight.
So they're gonna tear up the approaches too?
Approaches, sidewalks, yep, all the
So if I
curb.
wanted to widen my
Yep.
approach, could I?
Absolutely. Talk to Mitch as long as it's within our ordinance, as long as it's not I think we have a 24-foot, depending on how big your garage is. Like I said, those types of questions, Mitch is, if you don't have his information, he can get it for you before you leave tonight and give you a business card and all that stuff. I mean, certainly, if you have more questions after you leave tonight, even about this assessment, please reach out to us.
Are there any other questions or comments on this item, on the public hearing?
I don't know. When's the curb and gutter going in the first?
So, yep, so this fall would be sorry, Mitchell. This fall would be the underground work and the street base, the gravel. So then, hopefully by by the time the ground freezes in November or so, that would all be done. The utilities are all done, the new gravel's in place, and that is how it'll sit all winter, and you'll be driving on gravel all winter. It's gonna be dirty and messy, but it's the best process. Right away in the spring next year in 2021, we would start putting in the curb and gutter, sidewalks, driveway approaches, and asphalt. So generally speaking, on these types of projects, by the 4th of July, the following year, so in 2021, that everything would be done.
So in the whole project itself will probably be less than a full year, if you look at it, because typically it starts late June, July, you know, sometime around there, and then most of the time we're done completely with grass seed, grass growing by July 4th.
Well, you just won't have to do that here because we've got a lot of clay up in here in North Fond du Lac here. And what you're saying during a 2-year period, you're putting in road, that's not a bad idea.
No, it's worked well for us. We've been doing that for about 25 years now, and it's served us well. It's been a good process. It's just, it's unfortunate for the residents. It's the hardest part about it is dealing with the mess and the mud for the year, so.
Yeah, I've got that same problem on our property there, even inside my garage, we got a two-car garage. And, I've been trying to do drainage, water drainage away from, especially going underneath the concrete.
Yep.
there, And that just heaps up. I mean, I got a section in front of the garage about that high.
Yep, and if you have,
It just raises there, and I cover it, and at the entry of the garage, because I've got an inch gap like that, and it goes way down inside.
yeah.
And
If you
it
have
just lifts
drainage
up.
issues, which many people in this village do just because of, you know, how flat it is here. I mean, if you have backyard drainage issues, anything that's, doesn't drain well, hopefully this project will help alleviate some of that. But if you do have those specific things and have concerns, they're definitely something you should reach out to Mitch about, because
Yeah,
there's ways we can rectify that, so.
We've done some talking already.
Yep.
We have done our own solutions, as we're right next to the creek. I have asked permission here from North Fond du Lac, we put in drainage, out to the creek.
Mhm.
And in front and in back as well, keep the water away from the house and all that. But I've already hit, last 4 years, I've dug up one half the house, and then the other half. The first time, I had 2 walls pushed in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was bought that way.
Yep.
And I had to repair it.
Well, hopefully this project will help alleviate and fix some of those issues. It'll help to improve the stormwater. Are there any other questions for the public hearing portion?
I do.
Yep.
If we wanted to add in either
Sorry,
concrete
Mike.
or that asphalt, for your driveway.
Yep.
Is there additional, or how much more additional?
It's a good question.
And can we get the recyclable with the tar in?
It,
Yeah, the rubber.
Yeah, so it's a good question. We don't have an answer to that question. Most of the time, what we tell residents is to work with the contractors. Until we have a contractor secured, we don't know if they'll be willing to do private work. We will not require them under our contract to do private work, but a lot of times they will do private work for homeowners, pouring concrete and that. As long as the contractors does it, you would have to contract with them directly. So it's a good question. We can't give you an answer until we know who the contractor is.
Mike, did you have something?
I do, if everybody's finished speaking, and a quick question.
Yep.
You talked about 5-year installments
Yep.
if over a certain amount of money, I
Yep.
think you said 5,000.
Yep.
They decide to do that, are they charged interest over
Yeah.
that period of time? And
Yep.
how much is the interest?
The interest is always prime plus, is it 1? I think it's either prime plus 1 or prime plus 2, plus 3. With prime interest rates where they are right now and where they've been dropping, it's a pretty good bargain. It's a question about the equal installments over 10 years or 5 years. There is interest charged because we have to pay interest on that money, so yes. And that information, you will get a lot more information about that. There also will be a final resolution to assess when the project is done, where you'll have actual numbers, and at that point, you'll be able to speak your piece again about your assessment, and if you have questions or concerns about it.
And the one thing to remember with these numbers too is they are just estimates. So sometimes the engineers, their numbers are slightly high, to make sure that things actually work.
Well, yeah.
So we hope our estimates are a little high, so just keep that in mind, though. It is an estimate, and until we actually bid it, which when we bid it, we'll redo the numbers and we'll get you notifications out saying, here's what it is now with the bid, but until it's actually built, we won't know the actual numbers, so. Was there one more question in back?
Now, will you be, widening Polk Street?
Polk Street will be wider. It'll be, if you look at Bestrod's actually gonna be slightly narrower. It's gonna be a foot narrower on each side, but the different type of curve that we're using, it's
It's
gonna.
gonna be like what's on Wisconsin Avenue?
Yep, so it'll be the same as that, so it'll be slightly narrower, and that same size is gonna be on Polk Street. also. So it'll be executive sessions. So it'll give people more room for, plowing snow, and actually be able to get things out of there. It'll be much nicer.
I like the drainage part.
Are there any more comments?
Seeing no more comments out there, anybody from the board have anything, questions regarding? Last call for comments. All right, seeing no more comments, I would declare the public hearing closed.
You folks are, thanks for coming in, but you're more than welcome to leave if you want at this point. You're not going to offend us. So,
But you're welcome to stay too, it's pretty exciting.
Well, I do have one question yet. I've got empty TFAT ballot. Do you have a place to go with that?
I could take that. If it's all filled out, just set it on the table back there by the sign-in sheet and I'll grab it on the way out.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this ours to keep, or is you need to?
Yeah, Mitch. Go talk to them in the hall if they want more information. Yep.
All right, moving on to President's Business and Staff Reports, Library, Heather.
Thank you. As you all probably know, this has been an interesting, and so things really started evolving very quickly. I was off last Thursday and Friday, and I think that's when things started to happen.
Excuse me, Heather, is your microphone on?
It says it's on.
Oh, okay.
It's
It doesn't
Yeah,
sound
it's
like
waiting a little bit.
So,
Darren, why don't you
is
slide
it
yours over?
coming through?
Darren, why don't you slide yours over?
Thank you.
Yeah, just use them both. And we'll make sure we
Like at a press conference.
Yeah, it's definitely working better.
Okay. So as of today, Oshkosh Public Library, they put out a press release before that basically said that they were going to be closed as of today. So a lot of bigger libraries already were closed today already. And Fond du Lac Public announced as of 5 o'clock today they are also closing. And it's due to the, recommendations about social distancing and so just to try to prevent the spread. Since Fond du Lac County, I think you probably know this too, that it's a hot spot right now for the number of cases in Wisconsin. So we're just really trying to protect our public from exposure. So kind of made the decision that as of tomorrow morning, we're closing our doors to the public. We plan on still coming in and working in the office to get some of the things done. But the people that are at risk are basically the people that, a lot of them that come in, and we don't want to look back and be sorry about that. So that's where we're at. So we've had to cancel programming coming up, and we're looking at a return date of April 6th as of right now. So we're not receiving any deliveries from Oshkosh, so people, their holds will be suspended until that time. And we're also, what else was I going to say? There won't be any fines assessed or anything like that, because the computers now have changed. Everything that's been checked out has been changed to a date of April 6th. So that way people don't have to be concerned. Anything that gets picked, we're open till 8 tonight. Anything that gets checked out will not have to be brought back until that time. So
Heather and I have had several conversations today, but I had asked Heather to put together a press release. Is that up and out on the web yet, or?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
After I leave here, I'm going to do that, and I did send it to the reporter.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so then we'll get that shared on our Facebook page and put it on our website, and then, we have a number of departments too that will also share that, so.
Okay.
Is it also gonna be on your webpage?
Yes,
Okay.
I will work on that
Yep.
too. Yep. Yep, so that's about all I have right now, so.
Okay. Thank you, Heather.
Are you staying, or are you going to
I can stay.
You don't stay, I support your questions in the email. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Heather. Lakeside Municipal Court. Connie? Yeah, please.
Yeah, why don't you go to the board?
So I wanted to thank Nick for allowing Lori and Tammy to come over and help with some payments while I was on vacation. It was very much appreciated. And, yeah, the Lakeside Municipal Court, the court sessions for Fond du Lac County and Green Lake County are canceled. There's gonna be more information coming out on that shortly, and I'll get everything, that updated
Yep.
and everything.
Mhm.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Connie. Appreciate it. Administrator Nick?
I'll just maybe defer till we get, our next item is really all of the stuff about the COVID-19, so I'll just wait till we get to that item, and I'll just pass my weekly report for this moment.
Okay. Police Department, Darren.
Thank you. Really quickly, I passed around the monthly report for February. Winter parking restrictions ended yesterday, so I guess that's good news for everybody in light of everything else going on. And we did make a final offer to somebody, and he accepted. He'll be starting March 30th, Monday, March 30th. Coming to us with about 10 years law enforcement experience, so happy to have him come on board. So that's all I got.
Who is it, Darren?
Sorry?
What's the officer's name?
The officer's name is Jake Egan.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Anything for Jake?
No, Jake's actually at a meeting in regards to this, so that was kind of short notice, so. no.
Okay. Public Works Department, Darren.
Thank you. Just kind of no snow to plow, which is a good thing for a lot of people. With the snow melting, we've been out sweeping streets. We're about 2/3 of the way through the village right now. We're continue sweeping as long as the weather holds up and stays above freezing, that we're not at risk of freezing up lines on the sweeper. We were out starting to sewer jet sanitary system. We suspended that because of COVID-19, not knowing for sure. CDC and EPA cannot tell us 100% if it's transmitted through water or waste. So we suspended our jetting operations for now. We'll still be out trimming trees and stuff away from, we're trimming terrace trees now that are in the way of when we're out plowing, the refuse truck, and the street sweeper when we're sweeping. So we're trimming terrace trees back throughout the village right now. And that's about all I have for right now.
Darren, do you know, does the sweeper truck driver ever mention anything about, like if the road curbs versus like standard curbs, if there's more debris like stuck in the sewers, or you guys ever notice that? Is there any difference?
We know we pick up more debris on a standing curb than on a rolled curb. I really couldn't answer what's in the catch basins.
Yeah.
We do clean the sumps in catch basins, and they all seem to be about the same when we're cleaning the sumps.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. All right, moving down to the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of the following village board meeting from March 2nd, and approve invoices and authorized checks to be drawn on the respective funds as indicated. General fund, $116,308.61. Outdoor rec, North Foundy Fest, $97.37. Library fund, $791.52. EMS fund, $4,365.82. Water Department, $10,785.03. Wastewater Department, $7,293.07. Stormwater Fund, $1,134.55. Community Development Authority TIF, $16.70, for a grand total of $140,864.67. What is the board's pleasure?
We'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read.
Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Will, second by Price to approve the consent agenda as read. Are there any questions or comments on this, Mike?
I have one. Page 16, RMM, that's our computer network. I see the bill for $5,030. Is that the whole thing, or partial bill?
That's a number of all kinds of different bills. And
No,
it gets-
but I mean, the total is $5,033. Is that everything, or is there gonna be more to come?
Well, that RMM bill is not necessarily for anything in particular. I mean, it's part of our monthly, we pay them every month.
Okay.
So there's monthly bills,
But
there's,
does that-
in regard to what? I
Does that
guess?
include that outage we had, that they had come in?
Maybe.
I was gonna say, if they, I mean, that don't look bad, but I mean.
No, but you're talking about the most recent one, when the
Yes.
server went down. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but that, most of that is probably covered under our contract, because that's part of their normal contracted services.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yep.
say, I didn't.
But this is a number of things and renewals, and
Yep.
they're all rolled into one. We normally pay like about $2,600 a month, every month, just for services, and that's also rolled into here.
Okay. Last time it was like 15 grand.
Well, that was a different situation. This is a server failing is stuff under their contract that they cover.
Perfect, okay.
Any other questions or comments under this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Administrative, number one, discussion and update on COVID-19 and village operations.
I put this on the agenda last week preemptively, thinking that there's probably gonna be something to talk about, and certainly there is. So I had passed out, I'd also emailed this earlier today, the first thing was the 3-page with our village logo on the top. And what we're trying to capture here in the front office at least was, and we included most of the departments obviously, is we're trying to promote social distancing obviously, so we're kind of trying to put on paper and on our web is, you know, here are your options to pay your utility bill. You don't have to come into our office. Here's your options to get your pet licenses, building permits, community centers, senior centers closed. We're closing that until May 15th at this point. We've contacted everyone that has it rented, refunding them their money or offering them to pick a different date in the future. We're also gonna probably do the same with our parks, because we rent those out also, proposing to do that probably till May 15th at this time. We can certainly shorten that or lengthen it depending on how the situation unfolds. I had the police department put a couple things in here for their normal traffic, the people that come in here, I should say, that are normally coming to their window. And then Lakeside Municipal Court had them put their information on here that they're basically not going to have court sessions for right now, partially due to us closing our community center, and many of the other municipalities are kind of doing the same thing. So that's kind of just informational at this point. This will be updated as we need to. But that's it's on our website on the main page. It's also been shared on Facebook. So it's right on top of our main website page if this link is. There's also a link on there that Envision Fond du Lac is doing a good job of kind of keeping up to date and putting links, so there's a link to that on there for a resource page. There's also on our main webpage information about voting. As of right now, the election on April 7th is still going to be held. Absentee voting is still allowed. In-person voting in our office is still allowed. To register online, you can do it. That's all online, and all that information is right on our main webpage. To register online, if you're not a registered voter at this time, you only have until Wednesday, April 18th, to do that. So I encourage people to do that. If you do that, you can do it all online, have an absentee ballot mailed to you, and you can mail it back, and you never have to go anywhere. So I would encourage people to do that. So any questions about that information at this point? And then we'll move on to the next page if not.
I'm good.
All right, then I wanted to kind of move on. So then admittedly, this other page of information is very rough at this point. It's kind of been added to all day, and it's been kind of a hectic day, as you can imagine, around here. So I just wanted to run through at this point kind of an update of how the village is responding to this. As mentioned earlier, our library's closing starting tomorrow morning until at least April 6th. Like I said, all these dates are definitely fluid at this point. Our village offices are trying to limit it. You probably saw it coming in the front door tonight if you came in the front door. We've got some big orange signs up there, and I have this posted on the door and just letting people know if they don't need to come in, please don't. There's certainly, depending on what happens with this voting, we're certainly looking at the possibility of closing the offices to the public. The reason we even consider that, I mean, for obvious reasons to the public and village, but we literally have police department, we have EMS, ambulance, fire. One thing that's close to me because I've dealt with it for so long, and Darren with Public Works, is our water system. I mean, we have 2 operators that normally run our water system. So if they get quarantined, both of them get quarantined, we're in a little bit of trouble as far as operating our water system. Now we have 5 other operators that can do that, but what we've done, and it'll start tomorrow, is we're actually installing a system that will be able to run that remotely, our entire water system from our SCADA system remotely. So anybody that's at home, if they have the app and they have access to it, are going to be able to monitor our water system and change some settings on our system. Now that's not to say we won't have to visit it once in a while, but so we're taking those measures. But that's why we're considering closing our offices, because if one of us in here gets it and we all become quarantined, we can't operate. So obviously we're looking at that. Community center and parks closing for the renting until at least May 15th. Public Works preparedness, I mentioned the water supply. We're talking about garbage pickup. We've kind of got some backup plans. We've got 2 or 3 different people, at least 3 or maybe 4 people that can run that truck. again, that's not that is an operation that does not require a lot of contact with people, so that's a good thing. And then just even within the public works crew, they're working on social distancing, not taking breaks together, not eating lunch together, those types of things, because just to try and limit that contact. And then at this point, I guess I'll turn it over to the police department to update on kind of what they're looking at this point.
So a lot of our updates, or a lot of the changes that are coming our way, are things that we don't even have control over. Things from the courts, things from the jail. So we're still working on figuring all of that out. I do know that court is going to look nothing like it does now, both Lakeside Municipal Court and Circuit Court. We're probably going to be looking at much longer delays before we start seeing hearings and trials. And so in essence, basically what's probably going to end up happening is we're going to have a huge backlog of cases at the end part of the year because we're not going to be doing those things coming up. As far as locally and the things that we're doing, the changes that people are going to see internally, we're not doing any more ride-alongs right now. Those have been suspended indefinitely. We're not allowing any tours or any visitors to the police department, again, indefinitely. We are not going to respond to ambulance calls unless it's somebody who's, it's a matter of life or death, or we're specifically requested by EMS or fire to assist for whatever reason. Historically, we've been first responders. We get on scene and try to kind of just calm things down, mitigate circumstances until EMS arrives. But in light of this, we're not going to be doing that anymore. We're trying to discourage people from coming into the police department with their concerns. We ask people to call, talk to an officer first. Obviously, if there's disturbances going on or things where your property's been damaged and officers are going to need to come by and take a look at that, we're going to continue to do those things. But one of the things that's going to change is that historically we come to somebody's house, they ask us to come inside. We're not going to be doing that. We're going to be asking them to step outside. Again, it's part of the whole social distancing thing. If I can talk to you one-on-one on the front porch, I'm limiting my exposure as opposed to going into the house and being exposed to 4 or 5 people in the family. So those types of changes are probably what people are going to notice the most. We're trying to encourage more business via telephone, via email right now, less business face-to-face. But again, that's not going to change those things that we need to be there for. We're going to continue to do that. As Nick mentioned with DPW, we all work together in a very confined space. There are very few of us. We see each other and cross paths constantly. So we're trying to limit any potential exposure, because if we have one person out, that's going to become 2, which is going to become 4 in short order, and that puts us in really dire straits. I had a meeting last Friday down at the city of Fond du Lac with law enforcement representatives county-wide to talk about the changes that are in place. Like I said, some of these are coming from the jail and courts, so we're all seeing it. We also shared notes on what we're going to be doing, and everybody recognizes that there's the potential for all of us to be able to rely on one another for mutual aid as we move forward. So everybody knows that, plans are in place, and we're going to continue to make sure that we're here for people when they need us.
Any questions for Darren?
I have a question for the whole discussion, but I don't know if that's, are you done? Or you want to?
I'm not done, but.
Let's go down, let's go down.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Darren. Ambulance service, Darren, we also mentioned segregation of departments. I mentioned it lower here on this. So what we've done right now, ambulance service obviously is another essential service that really has to be careful with what they're dealing with. So as of right now, and you'll notice there's a sign on their door as you walk by it, we're not allowing our people in the front office to go back there or vice versa. We're just keeping our departments segregated. It's the same in the police department. We're not allowing departments to go into other departments right now just to play it safe. So we're trying to keep that their own mess in their own mess, so to speak. And then, so as you know, they clean this building, so we have our public works now cleaning this building in light of that, and then everybody else kind of helping out and pitching in. Lakeside Municipal Court, we already kind of heard about. They're really gonna be open in our office here, until we close the building, if we end up closing the building, but still taking, citations and all that through, online and payments and the Dropbox. I am working on a VPN work from home solution through our firewall. We should have that hopefully tomorrow ironed out in case, and we certainly have plenty of employees that have young children that, are not in school now. So to have that access from home would be very beneficial for all of us. So working on that, as I know it'll probably get utilized at some point here in the near future. As I mentioned earlier with the election, we still are required to allow in-person voting. We're brainstorming about that and possibly, maybe safer ways of doing that. You notice the voting booths these in here haven't been utilized yet. We have some in the hallway trying to keep people out of our main office for long extended periods of time, and then we're cleaning these areas very often with disinfectants. So I guess that's the summary that I have down on paper. There's certainly other things we're doing and looking at. At this point, it's new territory for everyone, but obviously as a public entity, as a government, and we need to be reliable for our people, for our constituents we are the people that they need the most in times like this, so we need to be careful about what we're doing here. So with that, I don't know if you had some questions.
But you kind of answered my question
Okay.
and went down the list about segregating departments. I do like
Yep.
that, and I hope it's the same for Public Works, where they'll hopefully stay out of this building too. I mean, just to
some extent,
to extent, as much as you can,
Yep.
most of it by phone, and if there's, if Darren goes down there, I mean, you hate to expose the whole,
Yep.
all the village employees to things, and I do like what you're doing, but, how about cleaning? How are you gonna manage, are you gonna not have, EMS or,
Yep.
are they still gonna clean in here?
Well, yeah, maybe you missed me. I just said that. So they're not cleaning in here anymore.
I missed it. I know that
Yeah.
there was separation.
So I just mentioned the Public Works people are coming to clean the building now because they have more exposure.
I must have missed that, okay.
Yep, they have more exposure. They have higher likelihood of exposure with what they do back there, that we don't necessarily want them working out here. So what I mentioned was we have Public Works coming up and cleaning this building along with us stepping up and just helping out. And at some point, if we end up closing the doors to the public, we probably won't have the Public Works cleaning here anymore. We will take care of it when we're here.
It'd be nice if we find a way to keep Public Works separated, especially, I don't know if it's possible
Yeah,
or not. but
it's
it'd be-
probably not completely possible, but we certainly are, looking at everything.
You still have that cleaning person?
No, so that's the other problem. The person we had cleaning was a college student that was attending a nearby college that now is not in college and went back home far away. So
Okay.
that's kind of what, and that's the library too. They were cleaning the library at the community center. So as of right now, the Public Works was doing that. However, now if they're closing their doors, they'll probably just take care of it themselves.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any more comments or questions on this item?
Nice job on
And you have the support of the board, whatever you need to do,
Yeah, and I that was
Keep
part of the
everyone
reason
safe.
for the conversation too, and why I sent out the email is, these are certainly unprecedented times for me as an administrator and for all of us, that, moving forward, we're just gonna have to make decisions in-house here and what we think we should do, and hopefully the board's in support of that, so.
Karen?
Some other things that are going on, I heard from the DNR today, they asked us to suspend, house calls, reader changes, stuff like that. And also had a discussion with Pete Fetters, he's gonna probably be limiting, inspections. New home inspections he felt fine with, but, upgrade inspections and stuff, he's gonna be limiting some of that stuff.
Yep. And like I said, if you have any questions at any time, feel free to reach out to us. I will also be sending out emails and updates if I have questions about things, and just, not that I'm asking for board approval because I couldn't do that through an email, but just kind of keeping you guys in the loop.
All right, thank you, Nick. Appreciate the update. Number 2, discussion and possible action to proceed with the Polk Street project as described and estimated in the report, subject to final approval in the final resolution.
So that would just be the board's approval to move forward with the project at this point, and the estimates that were handed out, and moving forward with that project and assessment process.
Anybody have any questions on this?
Do you need a
John?
motion on that?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we approve, proceed with the Polk Street project. Could I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Got a motion by Streeter, second by Will to go ahead with the Polk Street project. Any other questions or comments on this issue or item? Seeing none, everyone say, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Resolutions, discussion and possible action on resolution 5-2020, a resolution granting a special issue permit to construct a wireless communication facility located at 1130 Prospect Ave on Fond du Lac County Tax ID parcel V05-16-17-32-08-002-002.
That is a special use request by Mr. Rogers for US Cellular to put up a tower on the property near the school football field. And it was heard at the Plan Commission last week. The Plan Commission listened. There's not a lot we can do about this because of federal regulation, but there are certain things we can do with our zoning. And if you read the resolution, 1 through 6 are kind of follow-up conditions that both Peter Fetters had recommended, along with some additions and tweaking by the Plan Commission. Most notably, maybe that barbed wire, or it would be completely fenced in. It would have privacy slats. That was something that was added by the Plan Commission, so you wouldn't be able to see through the fence, along with some plantings and that to be approved by staff. And there's a number of other conditions in there, but those are really all the conditions we can limit. So with that, I think the Plan Commission did recommend for approval to the board.
Does anybody have any questions on this item?
I just have a question.
Ma'am.
Yes, what was the discussion at the Plan Commission like? Were they concerned about anything? I heard you say they added the slats. Was there anything?
I would say the main discussion was about just keeping people out.
Okay.
Did you see where the proximity was right next to the football field?
Yeah.
So that was a concern. So that's one of the reasons with the slats, so they can't see what's in there.
So they
Okay.
can't see what's in there, plus with the fence, and they were gonna have barbed wire on the top, and it was
Uh-huh.
discussed whether it's barbed wire or 10 feet tall, and they usually do barbed wire, so we were in agreement with that.
And the height was a big,
Okay.
somewhat of the discussion on.
Yep.
We settled on what?
8 foot.
8 foot with 3 rows.
of barbed wire on top, yep.
So you were concerned about kids trying to jump the fence and damaging it
Yeah,
potentially?
getting in there and getting into trouble, yep.
And these are just for this particular, I guess, tower, these regulations?
Yes, that's
thing?
contingent, that's the special use conditions for this particular special use.
Okay.
So the way that special use process works is you grant a special use because it's not an approved use of the zoning that's there.
Mhm.
By approving this, if they would not follow those conditions, we do have the opportunity as a board to pull the special use permit,
Okay,
remove it.
okay.
One item also is that the driveway is gonna remain gravel because of,
Yeah.
it ain't gonna be used much because of dust and all, that ain't gonna be blacktop, because it's back in the corner.
Mhm.
There was
next to the
some
school
discussion
property.
there, yep.
What's that?
There was some discussion about that,
Yep.
yep.
Any other questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve Resolution R-05-2020.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion by Price, seconded by Horning to approve resolution 5-2020 for the special use permit for the wireless communication facility at 1130 Prospect Ave. Any other questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Number 2, discussion and possible action on resolution 7-2020, a resolution proclaiming Arbor Day. Resolution 7-2020, resolution proclaiming Arbor Day in the village of North Fond du Lac County, Wisconsin. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now being observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide a habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires. And whereas trees in our village increase property values, enhance the economic viability of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore be it resolved that Mike Streeter, village president of the village board, do proclaim Friday, April 24th, 2020 as Arbor Day in the village of North Fond du Lac, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and further urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Introduced, approved, and adopted March 16, 2020. What is the board's pleasure?
Make a motion to approve resolution R7 2020.
A second?
I'll second it.
All right, got a motion by Horning, second by Will to approve resolution 7-2020 for proclaiming Arbor Day. Any other, or any discussion on the side? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Any communications? Any unfinished business? Any new business? I get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I get a second?
I'll second.
A motion by Price, second by Horning to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you all for coming.